first time I met Shane Warne was been in 1992, 93. And we were playing the boxing match, test match at the MCG. And just before that, we played the first test at the Gabba, and he was not in the lineup for that test match. I think Greg Matthews was the spinner, and they went for more of a fast bowling attack. And we got to the Boxing Day test match at the MCG, and Shane Warne just destroyed us in the second innings. I knew nothing about Shane Warne at the time. I was just starting off my career as well. So more concentrating on, the bigger names in the team at the time, Craig McDermott and Bruce Reid and those guys. And he came in the second innings of that test match. And I think he picked up something like 6 or 7 wickets. I'm not sure, but bowled amazingly. Bowled an amazing delivery to Richie Richardson, our captain at the time, through the gate, bowled down. And Shane Warne arrived. I think he played a couple test matches before that with no significant performance. So I believe that was the moment that Shane Warne sort of told everybody he's around.
It was in the year 91, I think towards the end, that I played against him. Either towards the end of 1991 or beginning of 1992, we were playing a practice game against Prime Minister's 11. And here comes a stocky, strong, blonde guy, bowling leg spins. And like Brian mentioned, that the focus was on other bowlers. By then, I had played a couple of years of international cricket. So I kind of was more focused on the rest of the attack. But Shane came and bowled some incredible deliveries. He was obviously not as accurate as what he became towards the latter part of his career. But, it was evident that, he had strong fingers, good wrist position, strong shoulders, and gave it a good rip. And I was beaten on a couple of occasions, when the ball spun on Australian surfaces. Ball didn't spin big initially, but as the match progressed, the ball started turning. But Shane was someone who was able to spin the ball from day one. So it was evident that he was going to make it big, and then he ended up playing Test cricket against us as well. But the first time I met him was in Canberra, playing for India against Prime Minister's 11.
Well, first of all, we have to talk about why he became that legend that he eventually ended up as his career. We talk about that Mike Gatting delivery. They call it the delivery of the century. Pitching outside leg stump, and no idea Mike Gatting what happened to him. But I think, and you'd also appreciate the fact that an England-Australia Ashes series is maybe the biggest series in the cricketing world. And Shane Warne sort of cherished those moments, and his performance saved a lot of his great performances for those series. So, he became in the upper echelon of world cricketers, past and at the time present. And every time I came up against Australia, and you got to remember as well, the West Indies being the best team in the world, the number one team in the world for 15 years, being toppled by the Australians in 1995. The series against Australia, home or away, was always for me the most significant series. And of course, I will have to come back with a Glenn McGrath, Jason Gillespie, but most potent for Australia was Shane Warne. So the battles were great. Fortunately for me, I may be like Sachin, is that I grew up in a country where spin bowling dominated. The lower part of the Caribbean, Trinidad, Guyana, we play spin very well. So I was lucky as a youngster growing up playing a lot of leg spin, a lot of off spin. And Shane Warne posed a lot of trouble for a lot of other players. But I found myself, winning a lot of those battles. But what was very significant about him is that he never gave up. And he always produced that miracle delivery, the one that you didn't know was coming. So I always had my eyes open for Shane Warne throughout my career. And he was just a tremendous bowler. Bowling in an attack as well that had awesome fast bowlers. So he wasn't always bowling at 20 wickets. So, he was just getting an opportunity, maybe sometimes in the middle of the innings, to get to sort of spin his web around the batsman that he had to bowl to. And of course, we all know about the Darrell Cullinan stories, and he sort of dominated a lot of batsmen around the world, and you have to give him respect for that.
That was my first proper series against Shane in 1998 in India. And Uh, Everyone tagged that series as Tendulkar versus Shane Warne clash. And I had to remind people that it's not Tendulkar versus Shane Warne, it is India versus Australia. But such was the following. So obviously, that kind of following is going to put you under pressure. And you're playing a world class bowler like Shane Warne. You can't just turn up and hope that things are going to be okay. So one had to prepare properly, not just out being there in the nets, but also when you're sitting in the room, you have to kind of try and be a step ahead of what he would be thinking, because he was extremely good at putting pressure and playing mind games and trying to plan your dismissal. Like Brian said rightly, it didn't matter. You looked at his body language. One didn't know whether Shane Warne had picked up 4 wickets, 5 wickets, or he was bowling wicketless. Every delivery that he came and he bowled, he was a fierce competitor. So even if you were facing the second last over the last over of the day, one had to keep his eyes open because he was always up to something and trying to figure out how could he dismiss you. So I felt in my career there were a number of good spinners that I played, but Shane was different. One of those very very few bowlers against whom you could not hit the ball on the rise. There were a number of spinners against whom you could go and play the ball on the rise. When you were batting well, you could still go and play those shots. But Shane was someone, if you did not get to the pitch of the ball, there was no way one was expected to go and drive on the rise. So I felt that was his class, the way he got the ball to drift. And that can only happen if you have strong shoulders and you're giving it a rip. The ball drifts down the leg and then it's leaving you again, spinning away from you. Not many bowlers could do that in world cricket. There were some great spinners around, but Shane was without any doubt different. I had to also practice differently because till then nobody had bowled round the wicket in the rough trying to get you out. Round the wicket in the rough or left arm over the wicket in the rough was usually bowled to keep things under control. If the batter was scoring runs quickly, then you kind of slow him down. And that was the strategy most of the teams were adapting. But Shane was actually looking to get the batter out. So I had to prepare, what were the defensive options and what were my attacking options. So I ended up practicing against Shane as well. But not many guys could do what Shane did.
Yeah, well, Shane was someone who spent a lot of time with. If I'm visiting Australia, he'd reach out or I'll reach out to him. We'll get a game of golf, and it was always time for a game of golf with Shane Warne. I just remember the last time I was in Australia, which was the end of 2020, early 2021 for the Big Bash and the series India versus Australia. We spent some time together on the golf course, of course. And at his home, he's someone who's always welcoming. You can get to Shane Warne's house at any point in time. He's always there. And that was the last time I sort of physically saw Shane Warne. But we have of course, sent greetings for Christmas recently. As you know, he has a 708 gin, which I love. It's a great tasting gin. And he's someone that, even though our careers have finished many, many years ago, he's easily accessible to someone like myself or for anybody, for a matter of fact. And I pick up the phone, I send him a text message or Instagram message, and he's going to reply immediately. And that was sort of a great relationship to have with someone so huge, such a legend, such a king, someone who you felt was, gigantic when it comes, in the world of sport. And it's unfortunate what has happened. Very sad, and for his family, his very young family, his kids, his parents still alive, and it's a weird feeling that he's gone. You felt that we are all going to be around for a long time, but it's not the case. And I think that he rest in peace. But it's been an awesome relationship that I enjoyed with him for the short space of time he had on earth.
Yes, I did actually. After the last IPL, I went to England and I spent some time in London. where we got in touch with each other and also planned a round of golf. It was fun. Shane was around. There was never a dull moment. It was full of entertainment, full of jokes, and those mini battles, those mini competitions that we used to have. And I realized that it was not just the spin, but also the swing came naturally to him. He was a good golfer, and I hate saying he was a good golfer because it's hard to accept what has happened, and for us, he'll continue to live in our hearts. Uh, it was a physical meeting which I enjoyed with him in London, but even post that, I remember my last message to him was when he met with a bike accident. And I said, I hope you're okay, everything fine. He said, no, I just took my bike out for a spin and it skidded and I'm injured, but I should be fine. Whatever. So my response to that was, you could spin the ball the way you wanted to, but taking out your bike for a spin, my friend, isn't a good idea. So to which his response again was, golf on painkillers for 4 or 5 days and I should be okay. So Shane had this tremendous attitude towards life, always positive and always welcoming. Uh, it's really hard to accept that he's no more amongst us. And it's so tough for his family and friends. My condolences to all his family members and friends. Uh, it's going to be tough. I mean, we will continue missing him. Uh, it's hard to put in words what I feel, but uh, all we can do is pray for him and may his soul rest in peace.